Hello internet, and today's video is going to be a tag, the no disclaimers book tag. I was tagged by my friend Darlene at Hell's Reading Castle. I will link her down below, and I highly suggest you go watch that video and all of her other videos. But first, the no disclaimer video, because she compliments me a lot at the end of it, and I really need you to hear what other people think about me, because they were really nice comments, and thank you. Because I really appreciate it. I like that someone else likes what I like, okay? Or at least likes me talking about things that I like or don't like, which might be the case in this video. So, fair warning, I talk a lot. I have a couple answers for these questions, so I have no idea how long this video is going to be. And when I edit, sometimes I don't edit out stuff because I'm just like, people should know what I think. So this video could be anywhere from 15 minutes to 30 minutes. I don't know what you're getting into, but you probably do. So let's continue. The first question is, which tropes annoy you most? I get annoyed by a lot of things. So let's go through a couple of them. Miscommunication. If I can gauge that your characters should be able to solve their problems by simply talking to each other, even once, I am frustrated with your characters and your book, because if you have a situation or some sort of problem born out of miscommunication between two characters who are easily available to communicate with each other, you're being lazy. I count that as laziness. Stop doing it. There are tons of other ways rather than just people talking past each other to move your plot forward. I'm sorry, that's true. Especially if like these two characters are always in close vicinity but they never want to talk about anything. Just frustrates me. Along that same communication line, I don't like when the author shares information with characters, but then these characters don't share information with the people in their group. Sometimes it's sort of explainable because it's like they're not an established group in the book, even though you know they're going to be like their own little team. And I totally get this idea of like keeping secrets because you're not sure who to trust or not, but sometimes like characters overhear information and another character overhears another piece of information, and I just sit here and scream because I'm like, if you guys would actually open your big ass mouths instead of complaining and shared what knowledge you guys knew, you could puzzle piece this plot together instead of me sitting through everything, figured out half the story, and I'm waiting for you guys to catch up. Like, just have your characters come to a point where within their group they're willing to share information with at least one or two people of their group so we can move this thing along instead of everyone just clutching everything so tightly, even though I'm just like, smack, leave me alone. I also don't like nonsense love triangles. I honestly don't mind love shapes. I don't really care whether or not you have love triangles, trapezoids, squares, whatever shape you want to have for your love. I'm perfectly fine with it, but I don't like the nonsense ones where they're just like all the characters are overly emotional and there's always that one case where it's like the first book, the character is established with one character, you ship them together the whole book, or at least you know that they're gonna be the couple the whole book, and then like halfway through the first book or in the second book another character's introduced and now we have a love triangle, and I'm like, you either introduce it early on in the beginning when these guys are just friends and being interested in each other and then it be a triangle, or don't even bother with that thing in the later day and try to make it a serious love debacle because you're wasting my time. I already know who's gonna end up with the main character. You told me in the first book. It always happens like that. I can't name a single book where it doesn't happen like that, and I hate when they do that. I don't like those love triangles. Those are lame. Or I just end up being like, why don't you all just get in a relationship instead of wasting my time with your nonsense? Second question, which writer or writers do you feel are overrated or overhyped? Cassandra Clare, not even gonna explain. I feel like that's very self-explanatory. Sarah J. Maas, while I like Sarah J. Maas, I don't think she is necessarily a quality writer. Like, I don't think her stories are quality works. I see her writing as like reality TV, but a book where it's just kind not garbagey, but it's so entertaining and just like, it just grabs at you that you can't help but read it. And so when I hear people like talk about Sarah J Maas, it's always like in sort of a hero worship, or she's just such a great author or writer, and I'm just like, I don't necessarily think that's true. I don't think she is the greatest author, and I don't think like she's one of those auto-buy hero worship authors. I do think she tells compelling stories, and I kind of think she's a reality TV sort of writer, but no one ever explains that or comprehends that. So a lot of people go into her books thinking, oh yeah, this is gonna be fantastic, and end up really disappointed. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm sorry that everybody else hyped up this book, that you thought it was the greatest book in the world. It's kind of just like reality TV, if you guess what I mean. Reality TV is good and fun, but we probably should acknowledge what it is before we hype it up, right? And then V.E. Schwab, her adult alias, right? So V.E. Schwab, or Victoria Schwab, but V.E. Schwab is the alias she uses when writing the adult books, especially A Darker Shade of Magic trilogy and all of that. They overhyped that so much. I thought this was like, they're like, this is the best fantasy in the world. The characters are so fabulous. Everything is so good. It's so imaginative, so unreal. I could have never imagined it. And I read it, and I'm just like, this is average. It's also really much a mess. Like, that whole plot, I'll explain it later, but it's a mess. The whole plot across all trilogy is a mess. It's just a mess. And everybody keeps claiming it's the best thing ever. And I'm just like, no, it's not. Not really. Stop overhyping her and try to trick people into reading this book where the two main characters are the most irritating characters of the whole book. Like, how can you make both your main characters so freaking annoying? And they're in like every scene. It's an okay series, but people need to stop treating it like it's the best series in the world. It's not. I'm sorry. It's just not. I probably have several other authors that I could say I just think are overhyped, but we're going to move on to the next question. So the next question number 3, is what are your least favorite books you've read since joining BookTube? I'm assuming this is like referencing books that you've read because of BookTube and read during your time, or at least that's how I'm taking the questions, because I've read a lot of books since I joined BookTube that have nothing to do with BookTube at all, but there are a few that I've read because they were mentioned on BookTube that I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. So, of course, we're gonna work our way down to the worst one. Number 3, Shades of Magic trilogy. It's not as good as all of you are saying. Stop it. Number 2, The Ember and the Ash series by Sabaa Hatir. I don't think I said that right, but I got some of the syllables in there. This book, so infuriating. Much on the same wave of A Darker Shade of Magic. They're probably on equal wavelengths in how irritated I got over these characters. There were so many plot points that I was just like, you guys, this isn't that good. And the dark atmosphere, the darkness of it, it could have been 20 times better, okay? And it's still been counted as YA. Like, if you guys try to say, well, it's YA, whatever. No, it still could have been better. Just because you're YA doesn't mean you're allowed to be garbage. And this also suffers from some classic YA tropes that I cannot stand. I cannot stand. Like nonsense love triangles, like miscommunication, like teams not sharing vital information, like characters not thinking about what they've eavesdropped on and putting things together. Everybody is also super over emotional. Like, this is a side thing that bothers me, but when a character, like something happens, like it's just like shocking, and then the character stands there for like a good minute, and I'm just like, you're in a dangerous situation, fucking move. But they just stand there, but they don't end up dead. Yeah, that kind of happens in this book, and I'm just like, stop doing that. And then the worst one that I've read was Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. This was one of the first books I bought when I first joined BookTube, because I had seen it around and like I ordered it online. Both books. No. Or did I buy them in a store? Anyway, they were the first books that I owned right after I joined BookTube, and I just recently read the first book. That book's garbage. It's horrible. Like, it's just like, what? Okay. Why you guys talking about this? It's garbage. Leave me alone. So, yeah. I don't hate all of those books. They've been my least favorites, right? And they've been recommended by BookTube to me. And I'm just like, you guys need better book taste, because that's horrible. Number 5. Which fictional character do you wish was not killed off? I personally don't have a problem with my book characters being killed off, if there is a purpose to it. I do get frustrated when there is like no purpose to the book character being killed off, like it doesn't move forward the story or anything like that. Then I'm just pissed, right? But personally, I feel like you probably should kill off 1 or 2 characters in a book. I think it makes your book more interesting. I wish like Laini Taylor had killed off people in Daughter of Smoke and Bone. No one dies, or at least no one you really care about, which is what irritated me. But if this is a book that I kind of didn't like because I didn't like how the author messed with the character, the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy. I just think V.E. Schwab should leave Holland alone. Just let him live his life away from you. Because you keep fucking with him. Just stop fucking with him. Leave him alone. He deserves better than you. I'm saying he deserves better than the author. Like, I believe that. He deserves better than you. Leave him alone and let him get on with his life. He's a wonderful soul, and he deserves a whole lot better than your fuckery that you keep putting on him. Question number 6. Some of my bookish pet peeves. I have a lot of these too. I don't like characters who are idiots and don't use their brains. Like, if you don't even attempt to put things together, and I'm sitting here with a plethora of information that the author has put in, and exposition that the author has put in, and the main character is not doing anything to figure any of this out or putting these pieces together until the last 1/4 of the book, even though they've had the information since the first 1/4 of the book, I can't stand you and your dumbass. Like, you should have died at least 10 times already. I don't like that paperbacks are not available at the same time as hardbacks in the US. I don't know what book buying is like in other countries, but in the US, if it's a new release, 9 out of 10 times it's probably released in hardback first if they're going to release a hardback copy. The only books that get released as paperbacks are books that are only ever going to be available in paperback. Sometimes I want books in paperback rather than in hardback. I have no problem with hardback books or no problem with paperback books. There's just sometimes where I would like an option. And I hate that I have to wait until the paperback's available. And I wouldn't mind as much if I could get an actual paperback release date and not have to wait 5 years after the book release to even get a release date, which is 5 years from that point in time. And I'm just like, it frustrates me. I want certain books in paperback. It's not too much to ask. I understand maybe it's like businessy stuff that I just am not privy to, but I'm sorry guys. Sometimes I just want the paperback edition of a series or a book when it releases and not having to wait 5 years before I can get my hands on it. I don't like glossy covers. It's not my thing. I will actively not buy books because they have glossy covers, even if they're something I'm interested in. I sometimes don't buy books because they have glossy covers. I definitely won't buy books at full price if I know they have glossy covers. I will wait an eternity and a half to get the cheapest version of a book if it even hints towards a glossy cover. The 5th Season by M.K. Jemisin, I borrowed from my library. I really love that series. I originally wasn't going to buy it because I thought it looked like it had a glossy cover until I saw someone else with a copy. Was like, okay, it's not glossy. and then I bought the series. I don't like glossy covers. I don't. All other covers are fine. If it has a little bit of gloss on it, I'm cool. But that full gloss stuff, not a fan. I don't like it. No. Not a little bit. I'm also really annoyed when I can't get my books straight on my shelf. So like going across like this, if I look at it and I can't see that it looks straight, I will sit there for hours pulling every single book until it looks straight. It bothers me. I can't handle it. So, the question number 7 is, what are some books that I feel should have more recognition? We Are Ants by Sean David Hutcherson. I know a lot of people have heard about this because although not a lot of people read it, they all hear about it. I feel like everyone hears about it, but I just feel like this author deserves a little bit more love, and I really like that book. Tiger's Daughter by Kay Arsenault Rivera. I praise this book all the time. I don't see anyone talking about this book other than me, and maybe Thoughts on Tomes, but no one talks about this book, and everyone should buy it and read it, okay? Just go buy it. Just don't even read it, but even if you don't want to read it, at least buy it, so like the publishing industry understands that there's me out here that wants to read more books like this. Like, I need your guys' support if I want to get the books that I want to read published, okay? You need to read this book. Frederick Bachman. I don't see a lot of people talk about him, but I'm assuming that he's probably popular and I'm just not in the right circles. But people need to read more of him. Especially, my grandmother told me she's sorry. That's right now, that is holding place as my favorite. It's competing with A Man Called Uva because I really like that one. But those two are my favorites. And I just think more people need to read his books because he's an awesome writer. A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This is another book that people like hear about as being really good sci-fi, but I don't think enough people talk about and really discuss or read, and I feel like you people need to read these books. Okay, read them. Read the books. Just read them. They're good. Trust me. And then last one, Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. This is also pretty new. I just want people to read this as well. I'll give you a little bit of time. I'm still waiting for Tiger's Daughter to become popular. It released last year in October, and I'm just like, where are all you peeps? Read the book now. So I'm gonna give it a little bit of time. But read Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. I'll give you a couple months before like I want this hype up. I want you guys to read this. It deserves love. Question number 8 is, what are your thoughts on censorship and banning books? Get the fuck out of here with that. Like, I'm not a good judge of what's appropriate for younger audiences or not. I grew up reading adult books and middle school grade books and children books all at the same time. However, it is my firm belief that it is up to the person to decide what they want to read. They will either get through the book or they won't. That's that person. You should not prevent someone from learning something because you can't be bothered to answer their questions when they don't understand something. You need to be willing to have conversations. Parents, you need to be willing to have conversations with your kids and let them read what they feel like they can read. Yes, I get age restrictions, but I feel like you should be able to have these conversations with your kids so that they understand what they're reading and can grow to be better people. When schools, when governments, when countries start banning shit, I feel like all that does is bring awareness to the thing. So go ahead, ban and censorship, because I feel like as soon as everybody hears you be banning things, they'll be buying things. And they'll be reading behind your back trying to figure out what you didn't want them to learn. It works just like that. I go to school with a bunch of kids who weren't allowed to read Harry Potter because Harry Potter ended up on that banned book list because it was just corrupting the souls with the occult and witchery and all that sort of garbage that people throw at you. These college kids actively go to watch Harry Potter movies, actively try to read Harry Potter books that they really probably aren't interested in at all, movies that they probably would have never really watched, except their parents told them that they were too young and couldn't read them because of were inappropriate. So now all of these kids are like, well, I finally have the ability to go and read this thing that I wasn't allowed to. Let's go figure out what was so bad about it. And now all these people are like, man, Harry Potter is really good. You see, parents, you see all you systems out there who were trying to censor everybody else. All they did was went behind your back and read them anyway. You prevented nothing. You just brought more awareness to the thing that you didn't want anyone to know about. When will the government and school systems learn? The more you say you don't want someone to do something, the more curious they are about what that thing is. It's as simple as that. So continue banning your books all you want. I don't think that's going to stop people from reading them. So that's the end of the tag. I don't really have anyone to tag myself. However, this was a very fun tag. So if you want to go and do it, or you want to tell me your answers down below to any question, comment down below so that I can disagree with you or agree with you. I just like hearing what other people's thoughts are on things. As you have probably noticed, I ask a lot what your thoughts are on things. So once again, I was tagged by Darlene. She is linked down below. She's an awesome person, and I really want you guys to go and check out her channel. She's just starting, so her backlist isn't that long, so you can watch every single video, and I really just love the time and effort she takes into making her videos and making sure they turn out well, because I know when I started this, the first videos I made were pretty shit. I haven't like deleted them or privated them, because I want you guys to experience the shame with me. But they were horrible. So I'm really proud of her for doing such a good job from right out of the start, and I'm excited to see where she goes from here. So if you like what you're seeing here and you want to continue to see more, click all those bunnies down below, and goodbye, internet.